Hello, this is Carrie Larson, and today's video we're going to talk about the next steps once an interview is scheduled in the applicant tracking system JazzHR. In preparation for your interview with a candidate, you would come out to the job, and then you would, under school interview scheduled, you would select the candidate's name. For this example, we're going to select candidate A. The information for candidate A will appear, and you can see under profile that there would be a resume, and you would be able to review the candidate's resume and any education that the candidate has provided on the resume. After you have reviewed the resume, you would want to select the discussion tab. In the discussion tab, you can page down and you would be able to see any notes that were made by the recruiter during the screening call. Once you have looked at the candidate's resume under the Profile tab and looked at any screening notes in the Discussion tab, you are ready to go for your interview. After you have completed the school interview and you choose to go ahead and move forward with that candidate, you would then want to come over to the right-hand screen and you would want to select the next step, which would be reference check. When you select this step, if Radar would be checking references, a pop-up box would appear that would send a message to the Radar reference recruiter that references are ready to be checked for that candidate. If Radar is not checking references, this would just be moved as a point in the pipeline so that we know where the candidate has been moved on to the next step. After reference checks are completed, then reference check complete would be checked. And once that is selected, then if Radar had been checking references, an email will be sent back to the school so that you know that the reference checks are complete and you're able to move on in the process. If the school is checking references, then you could just select this so that you have an idea of where they are currently in the pipeline. Once you have the school interview and you decide that you do not want to move forward with that candidate, you can come over here to the right-hand side and select the drop-down menu. And you can come down and you can select not hired, not qualified, any job, or you could also select not hired, considered for other job. Not hired, not qualified, any job would mean that you are not interested in them pursuing any other position within your district, or not hired, considered for other job. Maybe they are not qualified for the job that you interviewed them for, but possibly may be qualified for another position that you may have available. I'm going to select this one just for demonstration purposes. You have completed your review of the candidate's information and you're ready for your interview. But let's say that the candidate does not show for their interview on their date and time that they were scheduled for. You would want to make a note in the discussion tab that they were a no-show to interview. And you could go ahead and post that comment. And then you would also want to come over here to the right-hand side and select in the drop-down menu, and you would page down all the way to the bottom, and you would select No Show School, bottom of the funnel. Once you have selected that in the applicant tracking system, one other place that you will need to go out to would be to Calendly. And you would want to go out to Meetings, and you would want to select Past. And we are going to, for purposes of this example, we are going to use Test Candidate 1. And Test Candidate 1 was a no-show to their school interview. So you would then want to select Details, and then you would select Mark as no-show. And then again, it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to mark them as a no-show? And you would select Mark as no-show. By completing this no-show process in Calendly, that will then give us the data to be able to track how many no-shows that this position has had, and we're able to then work with that data and make any possible changes that would need to be made. A school interview has been scheduled that will appear on your calendar. Sometimes a conflict may come up, and if that would happen, you can go out to Calendly and you can reschedule the interview. In order to do that, you would need to go out to Calendly. Once you get into Calendly, you would want to select meetings, and it's going to show you all of your upcoming scheduled interviews. So we're going to reschedule this time for 9 a.m. for test candidate A. So I'm going to select details. And when you select on details, it opens up another screen, another box, which has reschedule button or a cancel button. Reschedule will find another time to meet with the candidate. Cancel will completely cancel the appointment and will take it completely off of your calendar. For this purpose, we're going to talk about selecting reschedule. So for reschedule, we select the button and it brings us into another page. And on this page, you'll see that on the left-hand side, it's going to show us the former time. And then on the right-hand side, it gives us the calendar with availability. So we're going to select the 16th, select that same date, but we need to find a later time in the day for that date. So you select the later time and you can select next. And it's going to pre-fill with the candidate's email, and you can select a reason for change, and you can just select need, reschedule, due to conflict, or whatever reason you would choose to select. You just want to make sure you have a reason to let the candidate know that it has changed. Again, it pre-fills the candidate's phone number, and then you could share anything that you think would be helpful for them to let them know any more information regarding the rescheduling. And then you can select update event. And once you select update the event, it will send an email to the candidate, and then it will also update your calendar with the new rescheduled time. And then as you can see, it has filtered in, rescheduled it on my calendar for the new time. In the case that you have completed the school interview and you decide that you do not want to move the candidate forward in the hiring process, there's a couple steps that you would then need to take. First, you would want to come over to the right-hand side and select the drop-down arrow, and you would want to page down all the way to not hired dispositions. There's two choices: not hired, not qualified, any job, and not hired, considered for other job. Not hired, not qualified for any job means that you would not be interested in having this candidate come back for a re-interview, and you're not interested in hiring this candidate for that position or any other future positions. Not hired, considered for other job would mean that you've interviewed them for this position, but maybe they don't meet the qualifications or would be a good fit for this position, but there possibly could be another position that you feel may fit them better, or a future position that you would be open to bringing them back in to look at. You would select not hired, considered for other job. I will select not hired, not qualified, any job, just for example purposes. And then once you do that, you can also, through the system, you can send an automatic email to the candidate and let them know that you would not be moving forward. So you can choose emails, new email, and it pops up with a send email pop-up box. You can have the email come from yourself, or you can have it come from the district. There's a choose template box over here on the right. There's some system templates, and you can select system template, and there's already a rejection letter to candidates. This is going to pre-fill with the name of the position, and then it's going to have a rejection letter already composed. You can modify this letter however you would like, or you could choose to go with the system template. One other nice feature of this is that you can choose to schedule to send out that email. So you've had the interview and you decided not to move forward, but you want to wait a day or two to schedule the interview. You can go ahead and you can select that feature here, and you can schedule a time for this interview, for the email to be sent, and then just hit schedule, and then it will send the email at that selected time. And then you don't have to worry about remembering to go ahead and send an email. It will be all taken care of for you. I'm going to hit schedule, and so it will go ahead and know to send that email at the time that I selected. You will see here that under date and emails, it will say scheduled, so you know that it will be ready to go at the scheduled time. Thanks for watching the video on the next steps for when an interview is scheduled. Thanks, and have a great day.